So, when I was preparing this talk, I decided to start with the labels I put on myself. You know, there's always this moment when you train, when you coach, or when you talk to people, that every trainer school says you need to build authority. So then you try to figure out what is it actually that you can, that you know, that gives you the mandate, the opportunity, ability to even talk to people. So when I listed all the labels that I put on myself before I start to talk, it's about things I really do. But when I saw the list, it was like, oh my God, the backpack is pretty heavy. So probably there is a little bias that I fell into myself, but fortunately I find this photo somewhere on my hard drive. And it does remind me that I'm not all that, too much serious, why so serious kind of person, and that luckily I have some other labels as well. If you like to share, to type in the labels that you put on yourself, you are free to do that, or you can just start to think about them right now. What is it that you put, like a sticky note on your head, and what's written on it, and what it does to you? So this is pretty much about me. And before we start, and before we go deeper into this topic, I would like to ask you to perform a little mental activity. And we will get to back that later at the end of the speech, not right now, but at the end of it. So as a first step, please think of a person with whom you have some kind of difficulty, emotional difficulty. It could be your partner, someone in your family, maybe your boss in your professional environment. Think about a person and what he or she does that upsets you, irritates you, and in general gives you nerves. I'm going to give you a moment to remind yourself of that person, and I ask you to really visualize that someone. Put that person in front of your eyes. Imagine what it is that he does, she does, that gives you headache. And once you have done that, once you can see that person in front of you, write down somewhere on a piece of paper, or maybe in your Word, or whatever it suits you best. Write down 3 to 5 that person's qualities, traits that upset you most. Maybe that someone is lazy, or maybe that someone talks too much, whatever. Just find 3 to 5 words that describe that person. I will not ask you to share it. It's just do it for yourself, okay? I'm not going to talk right now for a 30 seconds, 1 minute, just to give you opportunity to write it down and to visualize. I think you should have it by now, I hope. Just keep this piece of paper, or wherever you have noted, written it down somewhere near you. We're going to get back to that shortly before the speech closure. And now a few words about the topic itself. Because as a trainer, if there's one certain thing I can say about each and every group that I work with, whether it's a team or a group of individuals, one certain thing that happens is that people do love to fill in tests or questionnaires or tools like that. Sometimes it's not real tools, but just some substitutes. But whatever you give them, that makes it possible for them to search somewhere deeper in their minds or hearts and think, okay, who am I? What am I doing here? And then when you present the key, the solution to this test and they get the results, they are excited and they say, yeah, that's pretty much about me, or they say, no, it's really not about me, I disagree, and things like that. So we as human beings really love to learn new things about ourselves, and there are many risks behind that fact, and unfortunately they lay in irresponsible use of certain tools. One of them is that I didn't have any idea of this test until I took a serious management training program. Unfortunately, it was organized by a opinion making and very influential institute. They claim the program is still on, and they claim that this program is a substitute, a practical substitute to MBA studies. So the stake is high, I would say. And they presented us this test. It is described, that one, as a model of the human psyche, which is principally understood and taught as a typology of 9 interconnected personality types. So you can see the yellow words are very wise. They make us think about science. It's a sentence, probably if you would look some information about a tool, you would find that in some article, Wikipedia page, or similar pages. So it looks pretty serious. Now look how this Enneagram model looks like, or how can it be presented. That's one of the ways. Yeah, the star inside, the lines connecting the numbers, this is your Enneagram personality tool. It is widely described in this book by Lee Kingma, but she's not the only author about that tool. Its origins of these tests are really tests. It's not a test of this something, of this tool. Aren't really known. They seem to be very old. They seem to have a lot with spirituality. Well, it doesn't stand anywhere near science. But the author of this particular book says that during the years, many serious researchers and psychologists have reviewed the results of the tests, and we can be sure that the results that this test gives you are accurate, true, etc. And so I guess I'm the helper. There's something in me from enthusiast and loyalist and stuff like that. I have no idea why there is no cat in my personality, because that would be something that I would agree to. But in general, this is how it looks like, this test. And I wonder why it wasn't stated that the serious research, and when I say serious research, I mean that there are articles to be found in scientific magazines or research base that says, yes, we've tested that, we've tried that, we understand the concept, it works for us as well. So there should be a meta-analysis of such tests in order to say, yes, it works. That might be one of the reasons why it's not written down. If you would like to, see for yourself, then go to Amazon page. You can buy this book and see for yourself. And I think that's the worst example I've ever seen of something that has the nerve to call itself a tool or a psychometric test. But the extreme popularity of many similar tools, it's really extreme. On the left side, you can see an integration of those animal spirit star with personality traits or temperament traits. So you can see that there are many other attempts to finding way how to make money out of basically any idea. What you can see on the right side, I wonder whether you recognize it. I'm going to minimize the presentation for a while to check whether you are still with me on the chat and whether you recognize the second wheel. Do you recognize this tool with four colors with energies described inside? Yeah, inside profiles. Well, bad news is it also doesn't have the right level of so-called validity. And any tool, if it isn't checked according to other scientific theories about personality, and if it doesn't score enough points, it cannot be treated as something supported by science. That's what I mean. But here it's a moment where things start to be more complicated, because Discovery Insights, it actually comes from a personality theory that comes from Gustav Carl Jung. So it's not about spirit animals anymore. It is more rooted in science, but when Gustav Carl Jung was alive, there wasn't enough scientific tools to actually check whether this is true or not. But here we are today with these tests, 4 colors, and people tend to talk to themselves, I am blue, so you have to be, you have to be, with me, you have to be serious, you have to be, straight to the point, for example, whereas the fiery red are always in rush, they want to do things, and I've seen some companies, maybe you work in one of those, where people put their colors under the name in their signatures, and that is fine until the very moment when it gets dangerous. But we'll get to that later in a moment. Here we can see 2 another ones, and let me ask you again whether you recognize them. The one on the left side and the one on the right side. Do you recognize those 2? MBTI on the right, yeah, and on the right hand side, DISC, exactly. So I've seen you took a lot of tests. Probably I did them myself once upon a time. So it's not that I'm not willing to say that they are totally wrong, but that they carry some risks with them when we decide to use them. And what's interesting, both those tests, DISC and MBTI, they are rooted in this very same concept that Gustav Carl Jung left us with, that the personality in general can be divided into 4 sections, and that it has to do with some specific behaviors and the way we do things. If you have filled in for yourselves the MBTI tests, I'm pretty much sure you are aware of those guys. Byron, you probably find your character somewhere around those ones. And I would say that this is pretty much labeling from the very beginning. I would say, okay, I understand the concept and the marketing behind that. It is supposed to be funny. People should be able to say, oh yeah, that's me, I understand, I know what this guy or lady on this cartoon is doing. But the problem is that it is labeling us. So in order to, before I get to the risks, in order to put some order in all the words that we use to describe human behavior and how people think, what they feel, let me present 3 simple statements and just explain them very briefly, so that we are from that moment on sure what we mean when we say that someone has, for instance, choleric temperament. This is a construct that is biological. I would even say that physiological. So you are born with a certain temper. And nowadays, that's actually funny because this concept of melancholic, sanguinic, choleric, and I tend to forget the fourth one, but the four types come directly from ancient times. Hippocrates and then Galen observed people's behavior, and they categorized them into those four types. During researchers have tried to study the topic of temperament, they discovered multiple types of temperament. Once it was 8, then it was 16, but somehow they always had much in common with the original 4. So the modern concept of temperament does agree to the concept of the 4 basic types that originate from really ancient times. So as I said, it's biological, and what it means is that it is determined by genes. So when you will have, if you are parents and if you have a baby or 2 little babies, you definitely notice that they come to world with temperament, that they behave in a certain way. One child can sleep without any problems, no sounds will bother them, and other child will be awake like every 5 minutes because the sounds that it will detect will simply disturb the child. And this is because this is biology. It's not something about feelings or behaviors. It is a statement that describes why, what do we need, what kind of action from external world from the environment do we need in order to act. And some of us need this trigger to be really big in order to notice it and start doing things, and the others just need some little signs from the outer world in order to start doing things, to react, to feel angry, scared, or stuff like that. So temperament is about the way you react to things that happen to you in everyday life, and you cannot really modify it. It is slightly elastic, but during the whole lifetime and not some short period of time. So that would be temperament. And there is another word we use, and it is character. That one is easier to understand, I think. It's shaped straight away by our environment, by our family homes, schools, countries, the culture of the countries, and so on. It grows with us. Our character grows with us because it is a result of our experiences. And yes, you can work on it in order to change it a bit, slightly. You cannot change it from 0 to 1, but you can influence that part of yourself. And last but not least is personality, and that one is most difficult to explain in short, simple words. So let me just say that this is a highly complex system, and it consists both of biology, so temperament and the way we react, and experience, so character. The connections between character, personality, and temper are still being diagnosed, still are a subject of study, so we cannot be sure what are the linkages. We just know that definitely there are some. Personality is something that is also pretty much stable during your lifetime and through situations, which means when 2 similar things happen to you over the course of time, you will most probably react in a similar way. So we have to differentiate. We have to know that when we speak about character, we mean something a bit different than when we mean personality. And unfortunately, the tests that are shown here, there are just examples, they do not really distinguish it, and they put everything into one color, which is huge simplification of very complex things. All right. If those tests aren't really true, then what should we actually listen to, and what can be believed? There is one theory, Her Majesty Big Five, I call it, because it is during the years. I think it starts even in 70s. First studies and first descriptions that led to the theory, the personality theory that we have today. It's been heavily studied and researched by many different researchers, institutions, universities, and stuff like that. So that one is pretty serious, pretty much built by evidence. And some of the words you see here, I'm sure you know, like extraversion, for example, neuroticism. The other ones may not be that familiar to us, and I will not focus on them that much because the term extraversion and introversion, I think it's the one that bothers us most in our IT branch. And what needs to be said is that it's a continuum. It's not a 0-1 situation that you are or aren't extrovert, but it's a continuum. And to put that complicated stuff into a simple example, if we would see each other right now together face to face somewhere, I don't know, in Warsaw in a conference room, and I would ask you, you participants, to form a line from the shortest person to the tallest person, just like the famous guys here on the picture here, we would get following results. If you can look on the white boxes below, you will see that there are few people who are quite short, very few on the other side of the scale who are really tall, but the majority is average. The majority is somewhere around 170 centimeters of height. The same would happen if we would measure the scale of extraversion, right? So some of us would be highly extroverted, and some of us, but little amount of us, would be extremely introvert, but the majority would be somewhere in between and somewhere on the average. And what most of the tests, including MBTI, are doing is that they throw away the concept that this is a line, that this is a scale. So this is a serious mistake when it comes to scientific approach, because it is like you would say that there is extraversion or nothing, and there is introversion or nothing, so 0-1 situation, whereas you can put it on one scale, just like here. So most of us probably are if we would take the Big Five personality psychometric test, most of us would be somewhere around the blue area, probably because we are in the branch where really people with more preference to work alone, not necessarily always within teams. We might have more people next to the introversion end of the scale, somewhere near the green field, but it wouldn't be the vast majority. So what I wanted to say to sum up is that when we take tests, it's very important to remember that people aren't red or yellow or green or blue, but we are always somewhere in between. And moreover, we react and feel differently depending on whether we are stressed or not. We can react to some people in a different way than to people than to other people. So it is really not that easy to put people into one color. I would encourage, if you are thinking maybe to use one of the tools that are broadly available on the commercial market, to use it within your team. Look for those who do not describe certain types, either or, extrovert or introvert, but that kind of tools that will show you where you are on the broader range of possibilities. All right. A few words about why labeling is so risky and dangerous. Magic really can happen, but the trick is that we put the magic and the spell on ourselves or other people. Very famous research in 1960 has been conducted, very easy one. In US schools, each year before children start school, they are tested with some IQ tests. So IQ, the level of their intelligence is measured. So imagine a boy, I don't know, let's call him maybe a Derek, this guy here in this yellow t-shirt. He just started his school, he filled in the papers, and his teachers received his results. And let's say that, like majority of people, because same as the situation with being tall or short works for IQ, most people are around the blue scale, the average. So it was for Derek. He wasn't, his IQ wasn't too low, it wasn't also too high. He's a regular boy, a child with average IQ. But the researchers have done a little manipulation, and they told Derek's teachers that he, among 20% of his colleagues, that he actually has better results than average, which led Derek's teachers to think about him as someone who has better capabilities. Because of that, unconsciously and not being aware of that, teachers gave more attention to Derek. They believed stronger in his capabilities, what he is able to achieve. And he had more of their attention than his colleagues. And so after 8 months, guess what happened when Derek took the IQ tests once again? It appeared that his IQ has raised significantly. The difference was about 24 points in comparison to the basic result, which is huge difference. And actually, Derek did nothing special about that. It was his teachers who, because of the label Derek was put on his forehead, that he is maybe a kind of genius, they started to treat him like someone special and more talented than the other kids. And so, after 8 months, it appeared that Derek can be really better at things he was than he was before, just because that simple label that was assigned to him. And when I ask myself when I like my labels and when I don't, there are certain situations when it suits me, then I think of myself of someone very serious, knowledgeable, and stuff like that. But there are also situations that I don't like this label. And the thing is that, and the problem is that when we would treat ourselves like blue ones and the yellow ones, then we throw away a whole bunch of different situations and possibilities, and we start something that is called self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know if you know this lady. She was not that long ago quite popular on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know her? We need to finish. Okay, let me just
A few minutes.
yeah.
Thanks.
Let me finish. It's I'm I'm at the end already. What I just wanted to say is that when you look at that lady, you probably would never think that she's a doctor and a surgeon in the Adelaide Hospital in Australia. So that's another simple example of how we judge people based on their looks, and we are pretty aware of that. That we do that, right? We even say that we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and it's much more difficult not to judge people by what they think of themselves. I mean the labels, right? So finishing and wrapping up, when you think about the labels that you like so much, I would like you to look at the piece of paper you have somewhere near you, and look at the traits that you've noted down of the person that irritates you or makes you angry. And what I would like to tell you is that those traits are also part of your personality. This is Carl Jung would call it a shadow, and only knowing your shadow and the traits that you dislike and do not accept, actually accepting them, that you have them, makes you a whole human and not a vampire. But because only vampire doesn't have a shadow, right? Why this is funny and important, why am I saying this to you? And you might be right now irritated or angry with me, because what I'm literally saying to you is that some traits that this person who irritates you that much are in you, and they irritate you because they are in your shadow, in your unconscious part of your personality. This is also Gustav Carl Jung's concept, just like the 4 tools that I've been showing you before. And it's also that we like to accept the information that seem to be enjoyable, and we do not tend to accept those which are not that funny and not that pleasant. Thank you. That would be all in this topic for today. If you have any questions, I'm not sure if we have any time right now, or do we need to end, Bayron? But do contact me if you like.
Great,
a unicorn vampire, yeah.
We do have some minutes left. That was very good. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go into the Q&A mode, and a lot of questions have been asked. Let's see. Let's start with Sanne Visser's question. So are the Jungian models useful as a discussion tool, keeping away from using them as labels? And Gitte also asked this question or remarked on this.
Yeah, I would say yes. I'm not. I wouldn't dare to say don't use them. It can be they can be put into trash. No, but we definitely have to remember that they aren't 100% scientific, and I think it is because of the business models of the different companies. Because well-developed, researched scientific tests costs like about €5 per person. And if you remember how much costed your company or yourself, your Gallup test, your DISC, MBTI is for free, but some of the tests are pretty expensive, right? And it is because, that's if we don't know what's going on, then it's probably about money. So yes, they are useful as a discussion. But what I noticed from my experience from the trainings, even if I say, guys, don't be that serious about that. I just want you to discuss, to get to know your who you are, just to maybe form a better team. That isn't always enough, because our brain has this tendency to label. So it will happen also if we would take a serious scientific test, the labeling thing would happen as well. But if so, then it is much, safer and better for everyone to have a tool that is actually confirmed, right? Than a tool that describes your that you are a cat or a surfeit or whatever, right?